you're carrying the load here on this block because you just hit Drake bars, you just explained them,
Mm-hmm.
but you hit us with something before the commercial break that I'm going to need you to elaborate on because I think you got a lot of people getting that puppy dog tilt at their radio.
Yeah.
When you said that the Sacramento Kings could go to the NBA
So
Finals.
it's a callback. It's a callback to the epiphany. I think this was the last epiphany I had. Remember I said this about a month ago?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, the Kings could make the playoffs. It's not inconceivable. Now, hear me when I say
no, the finals. You said
the
finals,
Kings
can make
the finals. Excuse me. They're making the playoffs. They ain't even no play-in situation. Hear me when I say I'm not saying they will. I had my man Roddy in here, and I completely understand. Roddy was like, let's see them win a playoff series first. Completely agree. I'll take it a step further. Let's see them clinch the playoffs first.
Let's do that.
I completely understand. But what the whole gist of it is, they have an elite, I don't know if skill is the word, but an elite component to their team.
Mm-hmm.
They can score at, right now, a higher level than anybody else. They're number one in scoring in the league. And they have the ability to explode from beyond the arc. They have the ability to score inside. They have ability to get out in transition and do things. And they absolutely have a shot to go to the finals. You're telling me right now that it's completely inconceivable that the Sacramento Kings can win a series against the Memphis Grizzlies? I don't think they'd be favored. It'd be a tall task.
Mm-hmm.
It's not inconceivable.
It's not. I don't think there's nothing in this league as a whole that's inconceivable.
But I'll stop you for just a quick second, and I'll say, to kind of go towards my point, I don't see a scenario where they would win a 7-game series against the Celtics, Bucks, or Sixers. I don't think a healthy Sixers team they can beat in 7. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying like you can make the argument, yeah, they can win a 7-game series against anybody. Well, yeah, you can make the argument, but just talking about like what I see, those 3 teams, I don't think they can beat those 3 teams in a 7-game series. Those type of teams that I just mentioned, I don't think they're in the West right now. Denver's close, but we've seen them not only play Denver tight, but also beat Denver, although they didn't have Jamal Murray. But we've seen it.
The Nuggets are, but they're also a team who we've seen fail in the playoffs or fall short in the playoffs. Maybe fails a bit of a strong word. I don't know how many of the series they played in that they were favored in, but I think that it's they'd have to be playing their best basketball at the most important time of the year. I do think there's an interesting conversation to be had, though, about the idea of what you said about the Kings winning. We in all hit the break a little bit, instead of saying the Kings going to the finals, making an argument for Kings winning playoff series, or perhaps beating Memphis or Denver in some specific round. Is you talk about the Kings having an elite component to their game. Well, there are other teams with elite components. You mentioned Boston. You mentioned Milwaukee. The elite component of those teams, though, is their defense. What I wonder about them, though, is their ability to unleash scoring with guys like, obviously, I think the Bucks put up 150 last night. With Giannis and Chris Middleton, we saw that group score a ton of points against the Sacramento Kings, if I remember correctly. Boston obviously has 3 very, very capable scorers in Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart. And we believe that elite capability is there. We just don't see it on a night-to-night basis. Yeah. With the Kings, we see their elite scoring ability on a night-to-night basis. And we see solid levels of defense sporadically. If we took, some would argue this is a part of defense, but if we put the rebounding component into it and you just said they have to rebound better, I think you could, if you told me right now the Sacramento Kings will rebound offensively and defensively more consistently the rest of the year. I'm not saying anything about their defense, their perimeter, they're letting guys get to the basket. Just that one component. The Sacramento Kings rebound more consistently the rest of the season on the offensive and defensive end. I'd be all in with what you just said. It's that one little component that I get hung up on a lot.
Well, I would just want to answer that, and then you can keep going. Aren't they one of the better rebounding teams in the game?
I believe they were. Can we see where they are now?
Maybe they've come down a little bit.
I think they have, but maybe we'll check where they are now. But I believe the stat was they were, and was it top 3?
I thought so.
I thought it was top 3. I feel like they've fallen out of that.
Man, I could be. I absolutely. I know Will Z gonna get in here in a second, or Jesse, or somebody. I thought they were like the number 1 defensive team, rebounding team in the game.
They're 23rd in rebounds right now.
They must have, maybe
must have been week 1.
well, maybe it was like one of those things with the defensive rating, like during a streak or during a good streak, and they were rebounding very well.
And that's probably what it was. But I know exactly what you're talking about. So I've heard, you hear sometimes pieces of what, Mark or Kyle or Katie are saying, and maybe you missed the component of since
caveat.
Yeah, since such and such date. Which is the thing with stats. Like
Harrison Barnes is shooting 59% from 3 this year.
Exactly. No. Well, yes. This year he is. This season, not so much. But this year, yes, he very much is shooting. Like I think I think the number is 53%.
Yeah,
I think he's shooting 53% from the field and 53% from 3. Which is just absurd. What Harrison Barnes is doing, to quote the great philosopher Boogie, it's getting ridiculous. It really is. And that, again, going back to, the poll question, the most impressive thing we saw last night over on youtube.com/ESPN1320, if you want to go vote, just Harrison, just three. Buck didn't even crack a smile.
No, just kept moving.
Part of that was probably because he recognized I've hit like 6 threes and it's a 1-point game. Like, can we do something on this side of the ball? Anything on this side of the ball? Oh, Keegan's in on the act. Let's not let what Keegan's doing lately get lost either. Keegan
he has found his groove. It feels like he's found his the second. It's not even second half really, but his rookie legs. Like might have hit a rookie wall or everything was coming at him fast for a second, but he seemed to have found his NBA legs, and he's cooking right now. He's cooking. But the other thing that other people will say, and that Roddy mentioned as well in the chat, I wish I could find the quote, but I couldn't find it. But he was talking about teams, the game slows down in the playoffs. And that's one thing I talked to Ham about it as well before, is I don't know if that is the same, if the Kings have the same issue as other high-scoring teams in the past. They score a lot in the half court, so the game can slow down all at once. They score in the half court. That's what they're doing. There's Roddy said defense will pick up in the playoffs, so scoring won't be easy. Maybe so, right? I think we did the thing. I did the thing last week with all the top scoring teams during the regular season and what they were scoring and shooting in the postseason. It typically goes down a little bit, like a point or two. But they're still the team that was the highest scoring team in the regular season is still scoring at a high clip in the postseason.
I feel like that's all kind of a myth too, and not one without fact base behind it, but a myth that's kind of centered on specific teams. Like we think about Phoenix versus San Antonio, and what was it, 7 seconds or less, or something like that, and it's like, no, it's fine. Pop will take care of that, and he did. But have we done that with like every high scoring team? Did we do it with the Golden State Warriors? How many teams have stopped the Golden State Warriors? Cleveland did. Tyronn Lue did.
But they also stopped them when they were down 3-1. Right? It's not like they immediately when they played the Cavs, the Warriors couldn't score no more. Like they were cooking until Draymond and LeBron did what they did, And that, at that moment, everything was different.
Well, and I won't change my tune. I think Ty Lue did something
Mhm.
in that series. Like, I'll maintain till the day I die. I thought that series
He waited
shifted.
till the very last moment.
I don't know that it was something he waited to do as to something he figured out.
He figured out right in time.
Well, he did. I mean,
they were
I
40,
ain't gonna knock
48
him.
minutes away from being gone.
And 3 games later, he's an NBA champion. I can't knock him for figuring it out at a certain time. But when you look at those first games in that series versus the last games in the series, they were different. Cleveland was different. They played Golden State different. But the point is, I think there's probably very few examples. I think defense picks up in the playoffs. The game slows down. I think those are all great talking points. But how much of it is based in like fact and reality outside of pockets that we all know to be true? I don't know how much.
And here's the other thing. I'll go even further on that. I don't want to call it a myth because I see the same things that everybody else sees, but how much it affects it, I don't know. We talk about Suns going up against Pop and 7 seconds left. When did they play? The Western Conference Finals.
Playoffs, yeah.
When did Ty Lue figure out the Warriors? In the NBA Finals. It's not like when you step into the playoffs immediately, we can't score no more.
It's not the wild card round. Yeah.
Right. We just can't score. The defense is too much. Like these teams that quote unquote get figured out by the better teams, this happens a couple rounds in typically. You know what I mean? So I understand. Like I completely understand. I'm not saying like the playoffs aren't different because they are. I think there's something to playing a team over and over again.
Oh, for sure.
And you start to figure out tendencies and get used to it and things that. So I think that's more of a component as opposed to the game just slows down in the playoffs. I think the being familiar with the team, and hey, by game 3, you've seen everything they have in the playbook. It's just about your execution at that point. So I think there's something to that, but I also think that the team still are able to do work in the playoffs that do work in the regular season.
And Joseph makes a good point here too on youtube.com/ESPN1320 talking about rotations tightening up. And it'll be interesting to see if that is something that happens with the Kings should these playoff appearances come, because the bench at times this year has been very valuable. Trey Lyles last night was phenomenal.
Oh my God.
Trey Lyles
sign him.
Trey Lyles has just been just ridiculously steady for the Sacramento Kings in that second unit all season long. With, by the way, welcome back, Malik Monk. We'll talk about that here in just a couple minutes. But with, if you're of the belief that Malik has been up and down, or maybe Davion hasn't found his foothold on the offensive end at different points through the season. You got Terrence Davis in and out. You got Rashawn Holmes in and out. You got Chimezie Metu in and out. Of course, Chimezie Metu didn't play last night. Yeah. You have the old steady force of Trey Lyles, who appears to be nothing more than an older Keegan Murray. Hell, I don't even know how much older than Keegan Murray is. He don't make no face. He every once in a while he'll give you.
He'll give you a little something.
He'll give you a little bit, but
he'll hold the follow through up the whole time.
Harrison and Keegan, like Trey is like the extreme version of Harrison and Keegan, and all he'll do is little hand. Like there ain't no growling from this group. There ain't no yelling from this group. Malik got to carry the scream load for this squad.
Rashawn's helping him out.
Oh yeah, Rashawn.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, Rashawn getting those minutes, getting those productive minutes out there. Yeah, he's getting that in too.
Moral of the story, though, Damian, I stand by what I said. I think in the landscape of the Western Conference as it is in 2022, 2023, the Sacramento Kings absolutely can get to the NBA Finals. Am I going to Vegas, putting money on it? Am I betting anybody? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm telling you, it can happen. Just like it happened for Phoenix a couple of years ago out of nowhere. It could happen for the Sacramento Kings. I do see a path where that goes down that way.
I believe it was this radio show that said this Kings team can beat anyone on any given night, that extends to the playoffs.
Mhm.
It's just a question of whether you can beat a team, the same team, multiple times in short order.
Exactly.